Good day to you one and all. It is I, Justin Hawkins, and this is Justin Hawkins Rides Again. Yesterday I did an episode about that dynamic ticket pricing and the ludicrous sums of money that we're expected to pay if we want to go and see, you know, the great and the good of the pop and music trade. In contrast to that, today I'm going to talk about the cost of living crisis as it affects musicians, because if you're not Taylor Swift or you're not Harry Styles or anyone involved with those people, you're probably going to be in a bit of trouble at the moment, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Justin Hawkins rides again. Still in there. Okay, so apparently 90% of working musicians are worried that they won't be able to afford food. I mean, come on. New data from the charity Help Musicians paints a grim picture of the industry, with half of professional UK musicians worried they'll need to quit. The current environment has been described as the toughest time it has been to be a musician since the Second World War. I think during the Second World War there was a lot of people who actually played music to entertain the troops and so on. And in fact, being a musician was a valued skill set, even in the armed forces, because it raises morale. God knows we need it now, don't we? They conducted a survey of 500 professional musicians across the UK, and they found, here we are, some stats. 98% of musicians are concerned about earning enough income in the next 6 months. And if you think about it, that takes us up to, well, what would be the festival season traditionally, during which time I think there's probably a bit more work around. But between now and then, it's going to be white knuckling. 90% are worried about affording food. 84% are concerned about paying their mortgage or rent. 49% are extremely or very concerned they'll be forced to quit the industry. This is interesting, isn't it? I think if 84% are concerned about paying the mortgage or rent and 90% are worried about food, I think in the modern climes, the priority is your accommodation, and then the second priority is actual nourishment for your body. 88% say poor mental health is currently negatively impacting their career. 91% are unable to afford music equipment, which is very expensive actually. Travelling to gigs and heating rehearsal spaces is now impossible for many due to inflation. Fallout from Brexit continues to negatively affect touring. James Ainscough, the chief executive of Help Musicians, said, "We need to put significant time and resource into sustaining musicians over the coming challenging months if we are to have a thriving music ecosystem in 2023 and beyond." Right, so how do we propose to do that then? Help Musicians estimates that it has spent £8 million from reserves this year to give musicians the assistance they need, with therapeutic support accounting for £1 million of that. The charity is appealing for donations to enable their work to continue. I think we'll put a link to that here in the description. Money raised helps with the cost of performing and touring, as well as helping artists to create and promote new music. The charity also offers business advice, industry mentoring, and assistance with debt management. What has it come to? Oh my God. Anyway, this seems to be affecting both young artists and established artists. For example, Anthrax have just cancelled 20 dates in Europe. That's Anthrax. This is a legendary death metal band, isn't it? Fucking Anthrax. I'm going to wear an Anthrax t-shirt next week. The financial climate on the continent meant that the band's costs have spiralled to 3 times the original budget, making the shows financially impossible. And yet, some people are paying $22,700 for a Taylor Swift or Harry Styles ticket. So that's what we're up against there. This is the lack of parity between the sort of fringe art, the fringe genres within the music trade and pop music. I feel like it's actually a different industry. We're going to have to consider this. We're going to have to consider anything that isn't pop music to be a totally different ecosystem, because it isn't playing by the same rules. You used to be able to do this I mean, obviously there was challenges, but the reason why you'd go on tour is because at the end of it, you'd end up with a little bit of extra money in your pocket, and it would keep you going for the other bits. Now it seems like we can't even do the touring itself. So what are we supposed to do? I feel very grateful to our management, because I think the Darkness has built up a robust set of businesses for a moderately successful, essentially glam rock band of a certain age. I think we're actually quite comfortable, so it doesn't affect us in the same way because of the work we've done in the last few years. But I can imagine that for it to be a new band trying to do stuff like this, it must be daunting, because there isn't enough. Here's an expression I heard recently: there isn't enough juice in the market. But there's juice in the market, because people will go and see the pop stuff and they'll pay extraordinary amounts of money for that. And then the stuff that indirectly informs the pop stuff, the things that, like, I know for a fact that, for example, when Harry Styles sits down to record a song, he's not listening to the things that other pop acts, he's not listening to Sam Smith and things like that. He's not looking there for inspiration. He's looking in the fringe, in the fringes at the actual interesting music, to find stuff to give his pop the twist that it needs to elevate him and make people think, hang on a minute, is this guy, he might actually be the real deal. He's taking influence from interesting and also vintage stuff that when repurposed in the pop sphere makes him seem like a more legit artist than he actually is, and I say that with maximum respect. I think that helps everybody, really, because what you need to do in that instance then is say, well actually I took influence from Aha, or I took influence from Bon Iver or something like that, or whatever it is that he happens to be not plagiarizing but taking influence from. If it's prohibitively expensive to create interesting music, then the silt and the level of pop music will also go down. There'll be much more of it, but culture's going to suffer. So we do need to support musicians. I mean, I don't include myself in that. We're all right, but for music itself to evolve and improve, we're going to have to dig deep and help these people out. What you get told when you're trying to plan a tour is that transport costs have gone up because of COVID, and I think we all know that transport and accommodation is astronomical, not as a result of the pandemic, but people are trying to claw back some lost earnings from that period of time, so everything's expensive. But what we also know is that once those prices go up, they're a little bit disinclined to bring them down when the world goes back to normal. I don't think this is going to. One solution would be, of course, for transport companies, airlines, hotels, and all the other stuff to go, oh, right, well, the world's gone back to normal. We can reduce our prices back to where they were before COVID, because that isn't going to happen, Then you find, like, you can't justify charging more for tickets because everyone else is suffering the same issues with having to pay for all this stuff. So they stay where they are, and musicians can't use that to afford that. It means that the touring is unviable. I mean, it's another example of musicians coming last, actually, and we've all seen it. We all know it happens. We're treated like second or third class citizens. It's disgusting. We're human people. We're artists. We're sensitive individuals. We need this outlet. And how are we supposed to do it? Oh, I know. We'll all just go busking. Yeah. See you on the streets, guys. I urge you to support your local musicians. Do what you can. As I said before, there'll be a link to help musicians in the description here. It'll give you an opportunity to look at the work that they're doing, and if you are able to help, then please do. Sorry to paint such a grim picture, but that's how it is. And until, I don't know please use the comment section here to tell me what the solution is. And I think we all can agree that it matters, but the problem is, how much of a priority can it be when everybody's suffering with, the cost of living crisis? I mean, this is affecting everybody. But I think for touring musicians, it's just making that existence impossible. Good luck, everybody. Look after each other. Yeah. Justin Hawkins writes again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and watch one of these 2 videos. Do what you can, guys. We'll make it through. I believe in us. Cheers.